Hi, welcome to the Navigating Neurodiversity podcast. I'm Vivian, registered psychologist, and today we are delighted to have Emily Yap with us here to share her personal story as a neurodivergent individual with dyslexia. So Emily is currently a senior staff nurse at Alexandra Hospital. I first got to know Emily through my work with Uncommon Minds, which is an initiative where we share stories and spread awareness about neurodivergent individuals. And so through that, I was so inspired by Emily's story, and that's why I've invited her here because I think it's important for all of us to hear directly from Emily. So Emily, thanks so much for making the time. I know you have a very hectic schedule as a healthcare professional and with all your CCAs on the side as well. So thank you so much for making time to drop by. I thought perhaps we could start with, getting Emily to share a bit about your current work and what you've been busy with and your passions.
Right. So I'm Emily. I'm a senior staff nurse at Alexandra Hospital. So I'm passionate about meeting the needs of the elderly and vulnerable families. So on my working days, I'm a nurse, but on my off days, I'm a community volunteer. So actually, I founded Dunnan Youth, which is a ground-up initiative to empower and inspire youth to support and help vulnerable families in the community.
Yeah, Emily, tell us more about this because I remember, you mentioning that you started it during the COVID pandemic. Yeah.
It started at the height of the pandemic where it was announced that it was DORSCON orange. So there was a lot of people that were rushing to the supermarkets and panic buying a lot of essential goods. And at a point of time, my grandmother, who's about an elderly 82-year-old woman, she's the one who buys groceries for my family. And for her, it was very difficult to, compete with others to buy the essential goods and queue up in the snake queues. So it dawned on me and wondered how did other elderly and vulnerable families deal during this period of time. So then that's when I started to gather youths and families around my neighborhood to actually deliver groceries and essential goods to other vulnerable families in our community.
Yes, and that has continued to this very day, and you're still doing it on your off days.
Exactly, because for me, I definitely want to help the elderly and vulnerable families. So sometimes as Dunnan Youth, we will go to elderly homes and also nursing homes to do some art therapy with them and cheer them up as well.
Right, that's wonderful. Okay, so Emily, we want to hear more about your journey, because you have gone through the Singapore education system, right? And so maybe let's rewind a little bit to your school days and maybe you can share with us a bit about some of the challenges that you faced as a student.
Right. So actually, growing up, I really struggled academically. So I had trouble reading and spelling. And I felt no matter how hard I studied, I always felt like I wasn't achieving or doing well academically as compared to my other classmates. And a lot of the times I felt like while others are putting in their 100%, I'm putting in my 110%. I'm really studying hard on the weekends and after school with my grandparents, but the results weren't showing my efforts. Yeah. And then actually, despite me working hard, I still failed a lot of my spelling tests. And there was even one moment where my English teacher actually reprimanded me in front of the whole class and said, are you even studying? Are you even trying your best? And she was saying, I wouldn't even be surprised if you wouldn't make it past secondary school with this kind of attitude. And it really made me feel so upset because it's hey, I'm really trying my best, but it's not really showing lah. And she just didn't really understand where I'm coming from.
Yes. So it's kind of like making the assumption that if you're not doing it, then you must not be working hard enough. You must not be studying and so on. But that's actually couldn't be further from the truth, right? Yeah. What were some of the other challenges that you faced, besides the perception of your teachers and maybe some teachers that were not so understanding?
So other than teachers' perspectives, I think also I had classmates who were not so very nice to me. I think at that point of time, I was also having a lot of trouble with math. Then I saw that one of my classmates was doing really well, and I asked her like, hey, if you could actually recommend me your tuition teacher, I'll be very grateful for it. And she told me that oh, my tuition teacher doesn't teach stupid people. And it made me feel like, oh, okay, then if it's like that, then never mind lah, right? And then also other than math, my English wasn't very good, so I was very shy to speak and talk to people. So a lot of times when I'm on the school bus, I wouldn't talk to people. And there was once where one girl even approached me and asked me like, I've never heard you speak before. Are you mute? And it just made me feel even worse because I'm like, maybe I shouldn't really talk lah. So made me feel really discouraged all throughout primary school.
Yes. So, because as professionals, I think a lot of professionals think about dyslexia as, oh, it's a reading and a spelling problem and so on. And sometimes we perhaps fail to see the fact that it's got lots of other repercussions, like you mentioned, So it's not just about not being able to read and spell, but also the impact on your self-esteem, the impact of the way maybe teachers or peers might treat you very differently.
Yeah.
And, using words like stupid to describe you as well, right? Yeah. Yes. So I also wanted to find out, what was the experience of getting diagnosed like for you? Like how were you, did you ask for an assessment? Did you, find out about it?
Right. So I think if we rewind back a bit, right? Initially, my parents were saying that they wanted me to get diagnosed and like tested because my brother has dyslexia as well. And then they were wondering that maybe this is the reason why you're not doing well in school, because they see my efforts and they see how hard I've been trying, but yet it's not producing results. But I told them that I don't want to be tested because I had a Chinese teacher who told me that my fellow classmate who was diagnosed with dyslexia actually was an excuse or a way out of studying Chinese. So she said that, she's just faking it lah. She's just lazy. She doesn't want to study Chinese, that's why.
Yes.
So it gave me the perception that actually maybe I shouldn't be diagnosed because I don't want to be perceived as lazy.
Yeah, and just making excuses, right?
Exactly.
Yes. So for context, there is a policy that of mother tongue exemption that allows students with certain conditions such as dyslexia or ADHD or autism to apply for an exemption. Yeah. So what Emily is referring to is that there was another student that had gotten the exemption, and the teacher's perception of that student was that she was just trying to escape the
Yes.
one subject and drop it, and therefore you didn't want her to view you in the same way, so you were quite resistant to getting diagnosed. What changed your mind eventually and kind of agreed to? Did your parents force you, or?
My parents actually spoke to me and told me that, hey, this is not the right way of thinking. I think it's important to know that being diagnosed isn't a label, it's actually a way for you to receive the kind of treatment that you need.
Yeah.
So I think after PSLE, I went to secondary school. That's when I started to understand a little bit better, like maybe it's time for me to actually, in a sense, know the truth. Yeah.
So you went through all the way, you did the PSLE without receiving any intervention aside from like tuition.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really tough all throughout primary school. And I think as a small kid, right, like you just wondered like, why am I so different compared to everyone else? Like, am I really actually stupid? Being diagnosed for me was like a light bulb had finally switched on. It made me realize like, hey, this is the reason why I'm not doing well academically. It's not because I'm stupid or I'm lazy, but it's because I have some learning difficulties and I haven't actually receive the proper interventions and learn the ways that I need.
Yeah.
So it's so important for someone with dyslexia to actually identify their learning needs and styles, because once we kind of learn it, we can actually adapt the kind of syllabus to how we learn best. Right?
Yes. So tell me a bit about the intervention that you got, and what really helped to unlock and help you to learn much better.
Yeah. I think for me, what really made a difference was actually going for Dyslexia Association of Singapore classes. So they really taught me different ways that met my learning needs. So for me, sometimes I get a little bit distracted. So for them, they use interactive smart boards, mind maps, and even like in a sense like I'm a very audio and visual learner, which I never knew I was last time. So previously in primary school, how I thought I learned best was to write a lot. But actually,
So you just write the
yeah,
spelling repeatedly
I
over
just
and
keep
over.
writing. But actually, what was best for me was like doing mind maps or something visually appealing so that I can actually learn it like visually better in a sense.
Right. Yeah. I think at DAS they call it the multisensory approach, like combining the visual and maybe saying it out at the same time and just using all your senses.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So for me, Miss Phoebe from DAS made a huge impact on me because all throughout primary school, I was failing my tests and exams, and it felt like, you know, failure was everything that I knew, and I couldn't see past it. But she reminded me that failure isn't the end, but is a part of life. So I just needed to not give up on myself and to always try hard.
Great. So that one encouraging teacher can make such a huge difference,
Yeah,
right, to you.
exactly.
Like just believing in you and knowing that, you will succeed. You just gotta not give up and continue. Okay, so Emily, looking back now, currently you've done very well for yourself. But looking back, what do you think were the factors that really enabled you to succeed?
I think the main factors were definitely my parents and grandparents always supporting and believing in me because they believed in me first. That's why I believed in myself. Yeah, so if it weren't for them, I think I would have given up a long time ago and I wouldn't have achieved what I've achieved today. Yeah, and I think also the help with the DAS teachers and even my teachers, lecturers, and professors in schools. I think as our society progresses, we kind of overcome some stigmas, and they really made me feel so understood and comfortable enough to actually open up and say like, hey, I have dyslexia, and I do need a little bit more help. So,
Right. Can you break it down a little bit, like maybe the parents part first, right? So your parents believing in you, like what are some things that they did that really conveyed that belief and that confidence? Yeah.
even after being diagnosed with dyslexia and I was the first few stages of me receiving the interventions, I still wasn't doing very well in school. But my parents always reminded me and tell me like, hey Mimi, we love you so much. Please don't give up on yourself. Just try again. It's okay. And it made me feel like if my parents believe that I can do it, I think I actually can do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's just that constant reminder that, even if you fail this one test, it's not the end of the world. It's okay. We can always try again later on.
Yeah. So your parents did that. You had the DAS teacher who did that for you as well. Were there also friends that were very supportive and kind of understood? As you said, maybe as you got older, were people a little bit more aware of things like dyslexia?
Yeah, I think initially I was quite scared of judgment from my friends. So initially I didn't really open up to them. But after a while, when we've matured a little bit, I started telling them like, hey, if you haven't realized yet, I study a little bit longer and harder than everyone. It's because I have dyslexia, and it made me realize that not everybody is so judgmental and harsh. Actually, people are so much more caring than you think. So they started to like wonder like, hey, what is dyslexia, or like how can I help you learn better as well? So that's when I started having like a small group of friends where I'll study with them, and they were really understanding, and they actually helped me, overcome some challenges I had in class as well.
Right. So maybe sometimes we really have to also take that first, step out of our comfort zone, and it might be the results might be surprising, right? Yeah.
Exactly, because I think if we don't give people a chance to actually understand and learn about it, they will never ever learn about it as well. So we have
Yes.
to give them that chance.
Exactly. And now you're kind of an advocate and, helping to raise awareness for other people with dyslexia as well, because, I mean, they might encounter more people in their working lives and so on.
Yeah.
And the fact that you've shared about that makes them more prepared, to be supportive to these other people. Emily, I was also thinking because, you've kind of experienced a whole spectrum in terms of teachers, right? Teachers who maybe didn't say the most encouraging, and said pretty hurtful stuff to you, not just to you, actually in front of the entire class, on one extreme. And then you also have Miss Phoebe, who was so supportive. What are some things that you would say to our teachers who might have students with dyslexia in their classroom? Yeah.
I think as teachers, I think it's very important for you to create a safe environment for your students, make them feel like they are cared for and supported throughout. Like this is a non-judgmental environment, and we are here to actually care for you and support you throughout. Because I think if you think about it, although you have many students, you are that one teacher. So be that teacher that makes a difference. And your students will actually be comfortable enough to open up to you and even tell you that they're having some difficulties in class and tell you how to meet their needs. Yeah. Because I think for me, I've been so grateful to have teachers, lecturers, and professors who created that safe environment for me to open up to them. And even as an adult learner pursuing my master's, my professors were so understanding. They even had extra classes after lectures to slowly guide me through. At that point of time was statistics, because I'm not very good at math, so statistics were really hard for me. And she actually set up extra classes to teach me one-to-one, help me. Yeah.
Right. And in terms of creating that safe environment, did these teachers or professors, did they address the whole class, like saying that if any of you need help, just come to us? Like, how did they create that safe space,
Right. So actually, what my professor did was that she made all of us close our eyes, and then she said that if anybody feels like they're struggling in class, please raise your hand. So we all closed our eyes, and then whoever felt like they were struggling, they raised their hand. Say that, do you feel like you need extra classes? Then you raise your hand. Because in a sense, then it feels like no one's there to judge you because we're all closing our eyes. So we felt a little bit more open to share and tell the teacher. And then my professor then took note of who needed help and who was struggling and emailed them individually. And
Wow,
then,
that's lovely.
I know, and I understand that it is an extra step, but this extra step actually really makes a world of difference.
Yes. Oh, I really hope more teachers would, hear this example. It's a great example. And to end off, Emily, maybe is there a message that you'd like to share either with students with dyslexia or to their parents?
I think it's important for you to be kind and patient to your child with dyslexia, because for me, I'm so grateful to have my parents and grandparents who believed in me and actually believed in me first so that I can believe in myself. So love and compassion goes a long way. So teach your child to be, patient and kind to themselves too. So to my fellow youths with dyslexia, I actually wrote something to encourage and remind you to never give up. So success is built on perseverance and resilience. When challenges arises, it's easy to feel overwhelmed, but the key is to keep pushing forward and to always believe in yourself. The path to achieving your goals is rarely smooth, but persistence is what turns setbacks into stepping stones. Dream big and never give up. We're all capable of far more than what we realize. Even if you stumble or fail, it's okay, just keep trying. Each attempt brings you closer to success, and you may even surpass your own expectations. The journey may be tough, but the rewards are so worth it. So You got this. Never give up on yourself.
Thank you so much, Emily. Oh, I feel my goosebumps all over. Yeah, I think that's really important for our parents to hear as well, especially for parents where their children are still pretty young in primary school. Because Emily, you had such a hard time in primary school, but look where you are now. So Emily actually completed recently, right, your master's in
Public health.
public
Yeah.
health. Yes, yes, yeah. So I hope this episode has been helpful, and if you have any comments or questions for Emily, feel free to put in the comments below. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.
Sorry,
Yeah, I very touched.
yeah, I won't
Oh,
cry
you
already.
already.